There he goes again. Check the speaker in the nursery. Did you guys touch that? Did you guys touch the speaker in the nursery? Theo did? Okay. I think that dealt with it. Okay, good. Glad I didn't say anything incriminating because I'm being recorded right now. All right. Good morning. Give me a moment here to adjust. I straightened up the chairs yesterday and thought I was doing a pretty good job. And the first 3 rows back there are pristine. But then after that, they scoot over. And so that's, oh my word, that's going to bug me. You're going to have to pray for me. Because it's just, anyway. We're going to be in starting off in Genesis chapter 8. We're going to focus on chapters 9 through 11, but we're going to begin in chapter 8 as we work our way through the Bible. And as much as I would love to work through every verse, we're just not going to do that. We don't have time. But we are going to read off a big chunk of this here, and then we'll just kind of work our way through the lesson. Let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll get started this morning. Father, we need you, and we're thankful for this time to study your word together, and it is so important for us. We know that your word is profitable, and it instructs us, it reproves us, it corrects us, and Lord, it teaches us what is pleasing to you. And Father, I pray that you help us to learn from the examples of the past, help us to understand how your word fits together, and I pray that we would be diligent students of your word. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to start here in Genesis chapter 8. We're going to, like I said, we're going to read a good section here to start us off and just kind of get our minds wrapped around what's taking place. So the flood, we've been looking, and we just came through the flood last week, finished the flood, and now they're getting ready to get off. They're getting off the ark. Verse 15 here of chapter 8, God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kinds, went forth out of the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh, with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. At the hand of man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of a man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. And you, be fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, and of the fowl of the cattle, of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by, now this is key here, watch this, not be cut off anymore by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there anymore be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you of every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you, and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And the sons of Noah went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. So now this large portion that we just read is the Noahic covenant. Now you remember, as we've been working our way through Genesis, when God created Adam, he created him in innocence, he created him in righteousness and true holiness, and he put him under a covenant, which that first covenant was the Edenic covenant. And that Edenic covenant, under that, Adam was to walk with God in the cool of the day. Adam had wonderful fellowship with the Lord. He was to remain pure. He was to be fruitful and multiply with his wife. He was supposed to dress and keep the garden, and he was given one command, and not to fail in this command. Don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You can have everything else, but this one piece of fruit, don't eat. And so, he did as any normal person would do. Why? Right? No, but Adam failed, did he not? That was the test that God gave him. And the reason God gives men a test and places them what we would call the dispensation of innocence, the reason man was placed under that is because the only way true love can be tested, true love can be visible, is if there's a test, if the opposite is available. And so, God, the only way for there to be true obedience is for there to be the opportunity for disobedience. So God places man under a test, puts him in the garden, gives him one fruit that he cannot eat, and says, in the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. Now what happens? Man eats the fruit, man is plunged into sin, and God establishes another covenant with Adam. And it's called the Adamic covenant. And under this covenant, God is going to dictate the way all of humanity will exist upon the earth. The ground is going to be cursed. You know, we're getting ready to, we might be a little behind, wanting to put a garden in. You know, the weeds always seem to grow better than the stuff you put in the garden. And it just went through and cleaned up the garden. And would you know that there is knee-high weeds in our garden that I got to go back through before we plant again and take care of it. Why is that? It's because that's part of the reason, part of the curse that God placed upon the ground. And it takes work. And so man is going to have the ground cursed, then man is going to have to toil and labor and by the sweat of his brow eat instead of it just being plentiful. He's going to have to work hard and burn the calories he wants to eat. He can't just eat all the calories without burning them. You know, he actually has to earn them. And then you have the tension that's going to exist between husband and wife. You have the curse upon the woman, and there's going to be pain now in childbearing. You have the curse, and she's going to have to be under the submission to her husband. You have the curse that is placed upon the serpent, and upon his belly he would go. And so now we see snakes instead of having legs, which would be kind of interesting to see a snake with legs, whatever that would look like. Now they go around on their belly. And there's enmity between Satan and the seed of the woman, which we know that the seed that's coming is going to be Jesus Christ. But there's a war that's been going on now between humanity, between God, and between Satan ever since. And man is now depraved. He is separated from God. Men are born dead in trespasses and sins. and he's placed under a dispensation of conscience. His conscience has now been awakened. He now has the knowledge of good and evil. And what he was required to do, what man was required to do, is do all known good, abstain from all known evil. Well, that didn't happen. Because instead of doing good, man became progressively worse. And then with the merging of God's people, the sons of God, with the daughters of men, there was all moral restraint was removed from that compromise. And so the imagination of the thoughts of men's heart was only evil continually, and God brought the flood upon the earth as a judgment for violating his covenant with Adam. Now, coming off the ark, man is going to be placed under a new covenant with God. God makes a new covenant with them. And this is called the Noahic covenant. And so under this covenant, all the conditions from the Adamic covenant stay the same. But now God's going to add something to this. He adds the fact that he's not going to destroy the earth again with a flood. Okay? He's not going to bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy it. But is God going to destroy this heaven and earth again someday? Absolutely he is. He's going to do it with fire next time. Read about that in the book of Revelation. He institutes human government to guard the sanctity of life. So prior to the flood, man was required to do all known good and abstain from all known evil. Now, God institutes a government system. Man is to establish a government system in order to enforce doing all known good and abstaining from all known evil. Now, let me ask you this. How well has that worked? It doesn't work very well, right? And that's part of the point, is that man is so corrupt that even if something starts out good, it's always going to degenerate. You know, we all have, for the most part, all of humanity, even with their governments, has a very similar moral code. Similar. You know, if somebody lies to you, you know that it's wrong. Somebody wants to try to kill you, you know that that's wrong. There are certain things that we know is wrong, but is our conscience perfect? Is our determination of good and evil something perfect? Not at all. It's deeply messed up and marred by the fall. Because in one culture, they say, love your neighbor. The other culture, they say, eat your neighbor. It's different some places you go to. So government, while it is certainly necessary, is not going to be the answer. He's going to place no additional curse on the ground. Man is no longer restricted to a vegetarian diet. Praise God for that. Now man can eat meat. And that's what God gives them to do. And part of the reason for that is because the shedding of blood, if you notice back in chapter 9, he says there in verse 4, but flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. So God makes a command that in the eating of animal flesh, you still have to shed its blood. You have to pour that blood out. You can't eat that blood. And part of the reason I think for this is because it has to picture the fact that an innocent life is being taken in order to sustain my life. That's why the blood has to be shed. That's why God is giving man permission now to eat flesh, because there's that perpetual reminder of the blood that is necessary to be shed on account of sin and wrongdoing. Now, man's stewardship test under this covenant is called the dispensation of human government. This dispensation began with Noah and his family when they left the ark. Prior to this, man did not have the right to take the life of another human being. Because you remember, Cain kills Abel. Does God say, okay, now I'm going to take your life? Does he call a group of people together to take the life of Cain? No, what does he do? He does the opposite. He places a mark upon Cain to warn everybody not to kill him. And then when his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson Lamech comes along, he says, look, I killed 2 people. They hurt my feelings. I killed them. But it's okay. Because if Cain is to be avenged 7-fold, well, then if somebody tries to touch me, well, then it's 70 and 7-fold upon them. And so prior to the institution of human government, it was not okay to take the life of another person. But now, under human government, God has instituted human government for the purpose of enforcing a moral code and protecting human life. So in the new dispensation, while man continues to have a direct moral responsibility to God, to render unto God the things that are God's, as that will be the case until Jesus comes back, God gives men certain areas of authority in which he is to obey God through submission to his fellow man. That's your blank there. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. So God has instituted human government, and we are to submit to the government. Now, obviously, we know that there are exceptions to that, as we've discussed before. The highest responsibility of human government is to protect human life. Out of this arises the responsibility of capital punishment. We are not to avenge murder individually, but as a corporate group, we are to safeguard the sanctity of human life. Okay? Now, so this is the dispensation that man is in now, coming off the ark. Now, this is going to end horribly, because when they come off the ark, God is going to command them. Now, what you need to do is you need to spread out, fill the earth, be fruitful and multiply, go everywhere. And what are they going to do? They're going to congregate and gather in one area under one leader, and that government is going to lead them into sin, which the Bible is later going to say is the mother of all harlots and abominations of the earth. And it's really going to be where all of false religion originates. So let's look here. Okay, any questions on any of that? Okay, let's look here. Genesis chapter 9, down to verse 20. And here we have the manifestation of sin. You know, the whole thing with the flood was very extreme. And you would almost think that if we wiped out all the evil influence of the world, that would cure man's problem, right? Because that's why man does bad things, right? It's because there's just all these evil influences in the world. And it's the environment, isn't it? Well, that's what they would want you to believe. But what do you do with this next account in the Scriptures? Because all the evil influence has been removed, has it not? As far as the environment is concerned. But notice what happens here. Verse 20. Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine, and was what? Drunken. Oh boy. Now, we don't know exactly how long after the flood this was. Probably at least a couple years. You know, you plant grapevines. It takes a couple years before they're ready to go. So this is probably 2 or 3 years at least after the flood. He drank of the wine and was drunken. He was uncovered within his tent. We'll look at what that means here in just a moment. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So now, notice that quickly after the flood, sin very quickly reemerges. And 2 sins that really are seen often together throughout the Scriptures: drunkenness and fornication. It's hard to be specific as to what Canaan did to his father, but we know it was something of a sexual nature in some way. You know, Proverbs, there in Proverbs chapter 23, Solomon asks the questions, who hath woe, who hath sorrow, who hath wounds without cause, who hath redness of eyes, they that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine. And then down, I think it's around verse 33 there, he says, your eyes shall behold strange women. Now, he's not just saying you're going to, a strange woman being a prostitute, or I heard one preacher say, a strange woman is any woman, man, that's not your woman. That's a strange woman. It's a foreign woman. And he says, your eyes will behold strange women. Well, it doesn't mean that he just sees them. He's looking at them. He's lusting towards them. He's going after them. And so these two things go together. Now, what exactly was this sin that went on? There's a lot of different opinions. I've heard some that have some plausibility and some that don't. It's interesting as you read through here because it's hard to tell, has Canaan already been born? Or is his wife pregnant? Or does Canaan come as a result of what takes place here? Well, let's just kind of look at this and just kind of see what specifically it says. So verse 21, he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. Now, Matthew Henry, I think it is, he believes that he takes it just purely, word for word, at face value. That there's nothing more that happened here other than Noah got drunk. Because of the effects of the alcohol, he was getting overheated, so he uncovered himself with his tent and passed out, and his son came in and saw him naked and then embarrassed him. And I would admit, I see that. I can see that. I could buy that. At least that happened. I think more happened here, just given the nature of what takes place. Another view is that Ham came in, saw his father naked, and sodomized him. Because it says that when Noah woke, he knew what his younger son had done unto him. And so that's one view. Another view, I think, that might be a little closer. If we keep your place here, go over to Leviticus. And I think this is driving a little closer here. In Leviticus 18. And one of the reasons Leviticus 18 is an important passage, why I think there's a connection here. Because 3 times in this, in Genesis 9, it says Ham is the father of Canaan. Then it notes again, verse 22, Ham, the father of Canaan. Then Noah wakes from his wine. It says, cursed be Canaan. And then blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And there's a lot of emphasis there on Canaan. Well, in in Leviticus chapter 18, the emphasis here of chapter 18 is the sins of the people of the land they're going in to conquer eventually. Notice chapter 18 here, verse 1. The Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. And after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of who? Canaan. Whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Now drop down to verse number 6. So here's some of their sins. We're not going to read this whole chapter, but chapter 17 and 18 deals with their sins. None of you shall approach to any that is near kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness shalt thou not uncover. And he goes on to give several scenarios. Now I want you to drop down verse number 20. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. So what we see here is this expression to uncover the nakedness of someone is really kind of a euphemism for copulation. And so when going back here to Genesis chapter 9, likely what happened, this is what I personally think is what took place. Ham went in, saw Noah and his mother, and he raped his mother. And Canaan was the result of that incestuous relationship. That may not be, but that's what I think. That's kind of what I gather. Or it could be that Ham's wife is pregnant at this time with Canaan, and because he had, I think, 3 other brothers that were born at this time, born before him. And so Canaan may have been cursed still in the womb. But either way, what took place was terrible and wrong, but right away we see sin raising its ugly head. Now, what is this with the curse of Canaan? So from Canaan's line, it's not Ham that got cursed, it's not all of Ham's children that got cursed, because Ham had many other children. It was specifically Canaan and his descendants that were cursed. And the descendants of Canaan, notice, are the Jebusites and the Amorites. If you go over to chapter 10 here, verse 15, it says, Canaan begat Sidon, that would be the Sidonians, his firstborn, and Heth, that would be the father of the Hittites, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Amorite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. So this whole land where Israel is going in to conquer them, they're going to drive them out. They're going to kill everybody, is what they're supposed to do. Don't make any type of covenant with them. Don't make any type of league with them. You go in there, get rid of them, exterminate them. Those are all the descendants of Canaan. They're the ones that Noah cursed. So it has nothing to do with skin color. Now I want you to notice something else. Go over to chapter 15 for a moment. And this is where the Lord is confirming his covenant with Abraham. And this helps us understand a little bit about what's going on. Because one of the things that people will sometimes say is, God was such a mean-spirited, vindictive God to send the children of Israel in and tell them to wipe everybody out. Well, if that's all the information that you had, it would seem that way. But now watch. Chapter 15 of Genesis, verse number 13. And he said unto Abram, Now know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. What's he talking about there? Egypt, when they were in bondage in Egypt for 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. Okay, so now notice the context here. What God did to the nation of Egypt was awesome. And it was a terrible thing. Like killing the firstborn, wiping out their crops, sending disease and plagues. But why did God do that? It was a judgment for their sin. Now watch this. Afterward, they shall come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. Now watch this. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. Watch. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So what God is saying, says, look, in that fourth generation, I'm going to bring your descendants out of that foreign land where they're going to be held in bondage, but I'm waiting until the Amorites have become as bad as they're possibly going to be. See, the reason when God sends them into the land and tells them, wipe them out, dispossess them, get rid of them, not only was it because God had already promised the land to Israel, right? I mean, this whole thing with Hamas and stuff that's going on right now, it's not their land. It's Israel's land. It rightfully belongs to them. God gave it to them. But the reason God was driving them out and killing them is because of their sin. Now you go down through there and you read Leviticus chapter 18, and the sins that they're doing, they're committing bestiality, homosexuality, group sex, incestuous group sex. I mean, it is just terrible, the stuff that is going on by the Amorites, by the Canaanites. And so God says, you know what? I'm going to send you as my instrument of judgment to judge them, wipe them out, and take the land. It's yours. That's what's going on there. So it's not that God is just like, well, I like Israel and hate everybody else. Like, no, I do love Israel, but the reason I'm going to treat these people so harshly is because their sin is so great and so wicked. Let's turn the page here. We'll do this first, this top part here. And then next week we'll look at the Tower of Babel. So chapter 10 gives us the beginning of false religion, gives us the beginning of the nations. This is where all the nations come from. Now this was God's intention, for man to spread out, to fill the earth, as I mentioned a moment ago. But that's not what happens. Now watch this. Chapter 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of Noah, of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Unto them were sons born after the flood. Sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. Sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah. Sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, and Kittim, and Dodanim. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Okay, good, thank you. You probably do much better than me. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. Sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim. Mizraim translates to Egypt. Later on, I believe it's Hebrew for Egypt. And Put and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, and Sabta, and Raamah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Raamah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begat Nimrod. Now, this is one of the things I love it when God does this. He's just checking to see if you're paying attention. Because I don't know about you, but I get to some of these genealogies. So-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so begat so-and-so. And the temptation is to just kind of look at the words without actually reading them, just to skim your eyes over it, because it's just a bunch of names, doesn't mean anything. And then right in the middle, God puts this nugget that if you're not paying attention, you are going to miss it. And that's exactly what happens here. Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. That's how the Babylonians would have pronounced it. Babel means gate of the gods. It was later, in Hebrew, changed to Babel, which means confusion. So that's I think that's actually on your next page or somewhere like that. I don't know. It's on there somewhere. But notice here, the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of the land of Shinar went forth Asher and builded Nineveh and the city Rehoboth and Calah and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, the same as great city. And so he goes down and he continues to go on. Verse 15, Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Archite, the Sinite, the Arvadite, the Zemarite, the Hamathite, and afterward were families of the Canaanites spread abroad. Then he goes down, verse 21, you have Shem, also the father of all the children of Eber. Eber becomes the first Hebrew. That's where the name comes from, Hebrew. The brother of Japheth, the elder. Even to him were the children born. And then he goes on to describe those children. Now, notice verse 25. Unto Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. We'll talk about that next week. And his brother's name was Joktan. So now, notice here you got a map. And for the most part, it's fairly accurate. It's not entirely accurate. And this is what we'll go over, and then we'll be done for today. So Japheth, his descendants, there in red on your map, become the Caucasian people, light-skinned people. They become the Greeks, the Romans, the Celts, the Germans, Scandinavians, Russians, Scythians, and Finns. Now, if you notice on your map where Turkey would be, there right by the name Japheth, if you go up a little bit, you see Magog and Gomer. Those are not actually placed quite right, because Gomer would have actually been the land a little bit more northwest, where Germany and Greece in that area would be. And then Magog actually belongs north of the Black Sea. So just north of that there, that little blob of water that's there, that's the Black Sea. North of that is Magog, and that's where the Scythians come from. Scythians and the Magogites are the same people. Sir?
Is that the same Magog?
Yes. It is. Yep. And so that's those people there. But Ham's descendants move southward toward Africa. They become the Egyptians, the Africans, the Babylonians, the Hittites, the Canaanites, the Phoenicians. Now, Ham's descendants were not necessarily all black. Some of them were, but not all of them. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. And then Shem, his descendants become the Orientals. They settled in the Middle East and farther towards Asia. They were the Hebrews, the Assyrians, the Arameans, which is Syria or Iran today, the Elamites, the Persians, the Arabs, and even some of the Indians. So that's where they descended from. Now, what we're reading here in Genesis chapter 10 is the result of something that takes place in Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11 is going back to give us more detail about Nimrod and the city of Babel. And it is going to be, instead of man making the choice to move out and spread abroad and fill the earth, they stay together, build this tower, and God comes down and confuses the languages to keep them apart, and then he physically spreads them apart. And we'll talk about that more next week. That's fun to talk about. So you're dismissed. You got a question? Good.